Black people, I need you to listen up. Here in America, killing a black kid who is walking while carrying iced tea and Skittles gets you praise, worship, and close to $1 million in donations, as in the case of George Zimmerman. And, as in the case of Paula Deen, calling black people niggers and wishing that we would dress up as little slaves for her Southern wedding celebration, that gets you soaring book sales with the promise of more support. America has shown its hand once again. Black people don't mean a thing to the people of this nation. You can look at any comments posted under any video with any type of racial issue or where there's a black person in the article, and you will see just how much hatred this nation still has for black people, whether you're a child, a man, a woman, an elderly person, it don't matter. Now, I know this is not all white people, so this is not aimed at them, but it is to those who actually feel this way about blacks, which is a huge, huge number, more than you all will ever know. Some white people feel that we as black folks need to just deal with whatever they throw at us and just be good little N-words. If Al Sharpton or Jesse Jackson show up to support the family of someone who's been murdered by a white police officer or a white civilian, such as George Zimmerman, some white people are actually consider them to be racist or hateful or evil just for seeking justice. Now, these men are not calling for any type of violence or revenge. They just want justice. But in the eyes of a racist white person, they're racist. On the other hand, Paula Deen, she gets support for being racist. And people say that we're feeding too much into it. Now, I noticed in some of her interviews, she won't even say that she apologizes to African Americans directly. She just kind of says blanket statements like anyone who's been offended by this. Nothing directly to us, though. It's not that the apology means anything. That's just her blatantly saying, I'm not apologizing to those N-words, as she calls us. Now, the show of support that Paula has gotten and George Zimmerman has gotten and countless others. I mean, it's amazing to me that America is still that racist towards blacks. And right now, they're actually very proud about expressing this. That's why George was able to raise so much money, because America wants to say, hey, black people, yeah, we still hate you. And because we want to prove it to you, we're going to send George money to help get him off for killing this black kid. I've read some very, very hateful comments coming from white people about blacks. I mean, I've read comments such as wanting to put all of us in a building and set it on fire and watch and listen to us scream in horror. Now, that's some deep hatred right there. For those of you who think that a black person who talks about this type of racial discrimination is just as racist as the white man who wants to do this, you are just a lost cause. I mean, you have white men going around shooting black teenagers because they feel that their music is being played too loud. And what response do we get from white America? They should have just turned the music down. No, he didn't have to react in such a way. Or why did he kill that young black guy? Or why didn't he just call the police or whatever? Not that that's something that warrants calling the police. White America is actually taking their hats off to a guy like this and saying, good job, you killed another one. There is no talking any type of sense into that type of mind. And to call us racist just because we choose to talk about these things and expose these things to those who don't know, you want to call us racist? We don't have the power to be racist. Racism is a system where a specific racial group can hold another group back. That's what racism truly is. See, the thing is, you all have a history of violence against blacks while using the N-word against us. When I hear a white person try to compare a black person using the N-word to their use of the N-word, this is a person who is clearly overexposed to some type of mind-altering chemicals, or they're just simply a proud racist. Some of you actually act as if black folks don't have a reason to be mad as hell at the stuff that has happened to us in this country and continue to happen. Yes, blacks are still being hung in America, murdered, dumped in ditches, and discriminated against by whites. That's not a thing of the past as some of you want us to believe. I have heard many such tragedies from others and even in my own family. and friends who have horror stories regarding the extreme violence coming from white folks. The problem is many of you so-called white folks want us to just shut up about what's been done to us for centuries. You think that our anger or hurt or the damage done to us or our animosity should just disappear because somebody get in front of a microphone and give us a half-hearted, weak apology. We should just forget about it. But you don't make any such request of anybody else except for blacks. You expect us to just get over it. Well, we're not getting over it. We're starting to talk about this stuff now because you are wrong. From the moment we were brought to this country as slaves, you were wrong then. And you even try to explain that away and say, well, it was other blacks that sold you to us, as if to excuse you for buying us. And then you take it a step further and you perpetuate this chattel slavery where you're brutal, you're raping, you're killing. I've even read comments where young white people who weren't even around during slavery are boasting about what their ancestors did to us, raping our women and talking about injecting their sperm in us and subjecting us to all types of lewd behavior. You're talking about it with pride as if it's a badge of honor, and you want us to forget? How do you expect us to forget when this mess is still happening? And you are very unapologetic about it. And you will take the term cracker, in which it's been said that Trayvon Martin used that term. You'll take that and try to make it out to be the equivalent of the word nigger. Get real. You know good and well that the term cracker was what you all used to describe beating the hell out of a black person by cracking your whip across their back. So explain to me how the word nigger is the same thing as cracker. That's not a racial term. That was your badge of honor for beating black folk. Now that word nigger is a derision that you whites used many times during lynchings and during all of this brutality. You use that term nigger. That's why you're not expected to say it today, because that's basically you saying we still view you the same way we did for the past few hundred years. Now, whites like to claim that George Zimmerman isn't white, although his dad is. And yet you have some whites trying to claim that Ethiopians are a Caucasoid race. So when it suits your agenda, you try to claim that even the darkest people on the planet are a Caucasoid race. But in the case of George Zimmerman, you like to say, oh, he's Latino, not white. But yet you're supporting him in the murder of Trayvon Martin because Zimmerman is not black. In other words, you're saying we'll support anyone who we don't consider to be black. But Zimmerman has a white dad, so he is of the Caucasoid race. Just like Latinos are a Caucasoid race. Don't even try it. You racists have tricky ways with your words, but don't even try it. Anyways, to you black people who don't understand yet that racism is in full swing, take a look around you and just start to talk about this stuff and stop being afraid to tell people about what's happening. You will find that many of us have stories to tell. One day while walking down a country road in Michigan, my husband and I had a terrible experience ourselves. I was pregnant and we were holding hands as we were taking our morning walk. All of a sudden, a pickup truck was approaching us and started to speed up. Usually, any approaching vehicle will get to the other side of the road to give the pedestrian space, but not this truck. This truck actually pulled to our side and started to speed toward us. My husband and I were so startled, and we were about to jump into a ditch off the side of the road as they got closer. It would have been a difficult jump for me because of my pregnancy, so we started speedily down into the ditch. The truck continued speeding at us, and as it got close enough, it was two white teenagers laughing profusely. The driver and the passenger were looking down at us as they drove by, laughing uncontrollably. Now, prior to this happening, we felt pretty safe walking down our little country road. But these two young people showed us that apparently their parents are keeping the torch of racism going. They couldn't have been no more than 20, maybe 19 to 23 years old. They were very young. I'll put it to you that way. But it was funny to them to see our reaction and the fear in our eyes as they did this mess. Now, another time, when we were taking our walk down the street. This woman was our neighbor. She actually let her dog out on us. And the dog was charging at us full speed ahead, growling and barking. My husband had to pick up a large chunk of dirt and that was sitting off to the side of the road and threw it at the dog. Now, not once did this woman call her dog back. You know why? Because she knows that the system is on her side. She can lie and say whatever the hell she wants, and the system is going to believe what she has to say. I don't care if we had 50 dog bites in our behind. They would have believed her over us and somehow figured out a way to blame it on us. That's just the way things have been here in America. And you can deny it all you want, but we know, and there's a history and a track record that has been covered over by white America. But a lot of people are digging this dirt up, and you are afraid for it to be exposed because you don't want your dirty little secret out. That's why you lash out at us for talking about it and calling us racist. Now get this, you ignorant racist. I am not racist for talking about this. You are the racist one for suggesting that we not talk about this and that we not deal with this racial issue in this country. You know good and well that things are not even in America. Now you want to talk about, to deflect off of you want to talk about the black crime, but you don't want to talk about the stumbling blocks that have been cast. You don't want to talk about how drugs were planted in black communities, how we are systematically denied entry into jobs that we're qualified for, and you want to tell us, oh no, you're dumb, you're not qualified, and you don't want to work, you're lazy. Who was the lazy ones during slavery? Tell me who was the lazy ones then. I have gone to places like Home Depot or Lowe's, and I've seen young black workers there lifting things. One incident in particular, there was a young black guy and a young white guy helping us. The young black guy was lifting 2 logs at a time. We were getting landscape timbers. And the young white guy was lifting 1 at a time. And as we sat there counting, the young black guy put in double the amount of the young white guy. Now, maybe he wasn't strong enough to put in as many, but we didn't sit there and call him lazy because of that. But you all like to call us lazy, and you don't know anything about us. You don't know anything about us. I have people in my family who have tried very hard to get jobs and have door after door slammed in their face. And then you try to say we don't want to work. That is a doggone lie. Until you get your facts straight and stop trying to use the crimes of a handful of black people against us, I don't want to hear nothing you have to say. Because if you want to use every crime that a black person has committed on the whole racial group, maybe we should start doing the same. Should we assume that all white people are murderers, child molesters, abusers? Should we assume that all white people want to do wickedly and steal and rob? No, we can't assume that because one white person does something that all of them will do the same thing. That wouldn't be fair. And how dare you try to lump every last black person into the same boat as someone who's out here committing crimes. And then you try to use the welfare issue and say that the majority of blacks are on welfare. Well, if you look up statistically, there are more white citizens in this country on welfare than there are blacks. So get your facts straight and understand this one thing. Welfare was put in place to help people. And I don't see how you can complain about any black person getting it to begin with, because this country has never paid the debt owed to black people. Never. We have never been paid for all of these years of slavery, centuries of slavery, free labor, beatings, killings, lynchings. We've never been paid for that. And yet you want to sit up here and flap your lips about someone getting a little bitty handout from the government when you all get a lot more. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, everything I'm saying right now has nothing to do with racism on my part. I'm just exposing you people who continue to be so violent against us in your deeds, your actions. You use your legal system because you know it's going to be for you. George Zimmerman can sit there in confidence in court because he feels within himself that white America has already acquitted him of his crimes. He feels that he is already a free man because the donations are telling him, look, white America supports me. White America is proud of me for killing this black kid. White America has given me a pat on the back which is why I wasn't even arrested in the beginning. It's because the police have told me, good job, George. Good job for killing another one of those coons that always get away. Now, you all can argue all you want to say that he didn't say coons, that he actually said punks. But now, even in the court case, they're not even saying punks. I read one where they're saying he said folks. These folks always get away. Come on now. You people are deceiving yourselves. It went from coons to punks, now folks. You know good and well he didn't say folks. And then there was even a audio in the beginning that said these assholes. So white America, you have been exposed. I mean, it's always been out there, but a lot of people have said, I hear no evil, I see no evil, and I speak no evil. But it's right there, clear as day. And I would like to say thank you to all of the white people who are not supporting this mess, who actually stand for us and with us in our struggle to be treated as equal citizens in this country. There are a lot of white people who do that, and I applaud you for that. I applaud you for that. And this is not in any way directed at you. But please understand, when we have a passion about these things, we have a right to. If any nation of people were coming over here, slaughtering white people, hanging white people, killing white children, just shooting them down in the streets, you all know good and well that you would want justice. If any terrorist nation were coming over here just doing this to you people, you would want justice. So don't look at me like I'm wrong for wanting justice for my people. I want to say right now that this has got to stop. For those of you who call yourselves Christians, you need to get in the Bible and see that your sins, America, have reached unto heaven. If you understand that, if you believe in Bible prophecy, then you should know what's next. And instead of turning up the heat and being more evil against us, you need to start repenting and stop justifying this mess. And those of you who don't actually put a hand in it, you need to start speaking up against it, because your silence is your approval. That's you saying this ain't got nothing to do with me. I'm not doing it. I can't help it if my cousin or my uncle or my aunt or my grandfather is doing it. As long as I can keep my white privilege, I'm not saying a thing. If you're trying to protect your white privilege at the expense of black people, then you are just as guilty. And for all of you black people who don't get this and you're playing right into this and you're being violent towards each other, you need to stop this mess and turn your hearts back to the Most High and get your hearts right. I'm going to end it right there. Shalom to all my brothers and sisters.